It's Deidre. I, 27 female, screamed at my husband, 28 male, over his hobbies. And now he's changed, and I don't know how to fix this. Hey everyone, I need some advice about a situation with my husband. I'm 27 female, and he is 28 male. And we've been married for 4 years. He has a room where he keeps all his hobbies: sim racing, aviation setups, soccer analysis tools, Lego sets, music production equipment. Basically, it's his sanctuary. He's super analytical and loves writing down and dissecting things from sports to politics. He's slightly on the spectrum and very introverted. He doesn't have any close friends. I'm really the only person he shares everything with. He's always inviting me into his space to be a part of his interests. I love him and appreciate that he wants to include me, but sometimes I just need some time for myself. Recently, I snapped. I yelled at him, saying some hurtful things that I didn't mean, like how his interests bore me, that he needs to get a social life, and even questioned why I married him. I regret every word, but my anger got the best of me, and I could not control it in that moment. Angry because he invited you in the room? Since then, he's completely changed. He stopped spending time in his room, moved to sleeping on the couch, and barely talks to me. He even ignored our usual tradition of watching our home nation's soccer team play, something he'd never skipped before. Instead, he was working on his laptop, breaking our no work at home rule. When I asked him about it, he said he did not care about the game and mentioned that maybe he should be more like his father, who is a workaholic and whom my husband idolizes. He even added, I don't blame him for divorcing at that age now. I've apologized multiple times, but he just says, it's okay, maybe you're right, and shuts down any attempts I make to talk about his interests. I'm terrified he's considering divorce. I know I messed up, but I don't know how to rebuild trust and help him feel valued and loved again. I don't want to lose him, but I'm unsure how to approach this and make amends. Any advice? TLDR, I criticized my husband's hobbies and now he's pulling away. I've apologized, but I'm worried he might be considering divorce. How do I make things right? Well, part of me wants to know why you would want to make things right if you despise his interests so greatly. He has his own room for his interests, and I get not always wanting to be a part of it. Hence, keeping his stuff separate in a room. I'm sure she has her own space as well, which is the smart thing to do. They were almost there, even for their ages, they're pretty young, to understand that he needs his own space and she needs her own space so early on. They were halfway there. Now, what happened was that I kind of get the feeling, however, that she feigned interest and continues to feign interest whenever he invites her. And the problem with feigning interest is that you start to build resentment. And as we see in this example, it led to her boiling over and exploding at him. And I kind of understand why he is not willing to hear her apologies, because chances are he kind of picked up on her lack of desire to be there in his room with him and listen to him talk about his interests before this explosion. She didn't just randomly explode. I'm sure there were and moments. And people think autistic people don't know, but they do. We do know when y'all are not interested in what we have to say. So it boggles me how she could. This is the core of his being. These are the things that are the closest to his soul, deep down in his heart, and these matter to him. And for you to look at that and just feel disgusted to the point of exploding in such a manner and tearing him down from the inside. She reached inside his heart and tore him down in that moment. Probably one of the most heartless ways to bring your partner down. he made himself vulnerable. He was comfortable. I would imagine that the years leading up to 4 years, the years leading up to this moment of explosive behavior by her, were filled with uncertainty and him bringing down his own walls. You know, as someone on the spectrum, you probably grew up learning to put a lot of walls up to protect yourself because those vulnerable parts of you, a lot of times the world does not understand. And so he's built up all these walls, I'm sure. I don't want to make up my own story here, but let's just say that that's the case. He went through a process of learning to open up to someone. She made him feel comfortable enough to open up about those things. And she's there and she hears and she's listening. And, you know, unfortunately, perhaps some of those times it was feigned interest. And then she exploded and told him how she really felt. I have a very hard time with the fact that she is trying to erase all this and say she's apologizing and that she messed up and, you know, she wants to rebuild trust and help him feel valued and loved. You don't come back from something like that because he likely knew that these were her feelings all along and she just confirmed it. Like, that's what it is. So it's already rooted deep in what he already might have been feeling. I don't like that she is trying to erase what happened. I think the wiser thing to do would be to say, okay, maybe I was a little bit hurtful, I was hurtful with what I said with you, and it came from a place of frustration. I want to support you, and I want to, you know, give you a space to be yourself, and I respect that 100%. I feel like I am being, you know, dragged into it. Maybe drag is not the right word, but you get what I'm saying. I feel like I am being made to be a part of it in a way that makes me uncomfortable or in a way that doesn't respect my need for space. If you get what I'm saying, why not have that conversation instead of saying, oh, I'm sorry, I said that. Let's erase it. Let's go back to, you know, me standing in the room for 3 hours while you tell me about the government. That's not how you will build on that. You're never going to get that trust back. Instead, maybe help him see where those feelings might be coming from. It's quite possible that he would respond to that in a positive way and say, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. You know, you may not have the same interest as me, and maybe I got, you know, too comfortable pulling you down into those rabbit holes with me. So I apologize. You know, if you're interested in seeing what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to come into my room and I will show you. I will keep it brief. Unless you want to know more, you can ask questions, but let's keep it healthy. You know, the thing that would make that unhealthy is if a person immediately shut down when that other person came into their room and just pretended like they weren't there and just waited for questions and kept the answers short and just like, yeah, oh, that's, yeah, Bill Clinton, That would be toxic too. How about when she comes in the room, you say, oh, hey, thanks for joining me here. I appreciate your being here. Would you like to know what I'm into right now? Yes, I would love to know what you're into. Okay, well, it's just this and this and this. And yeah, if you want to know more, I can tell you. Okay, thank you. Well, I'm going to go cook some fettuccine, but I'll check back on you later and maybe you can tell me a little bit more. Okay, babe, I love you. Bye. Bye. Okay, and that's it. Like, that's how simple it could be between two healthy people. Like, it doesn't have to end in divorce. How about we just be honest with ourselves? It seems as though she's afraid to be honest with herself, which is why she ended up in this situation in the first place. So, assuming he can handle that honesty like this, they can come back from this. Now, if he can't handle that honesty and gets butthurt and, you know, starts to shut down, and it doesn't sound like he is, but you never know, then there's going to be difficulty coming back from that. It's kind of why I am still single. I think that maybe there should be an effort to connect with people who share some of those interests. I kind of find that if we are too different, like you can't expect to date or marry a mirror of yourself, but what if you both, you know, was into tattooing? What if you both were into rebelling against the government? Like, what if there was something that you guys did share and were passionate about? I think it would be a lot easier to avoid situations like this, to where nobody wants to hear what the other person has to say. Such a massive part of that man's life, she don't care. Like, I won't say that's incompatible, but I will say it could be easier if they shared the same interest to some degree. And it sounds like they don't. You know the core of your heart. You know what makes you tick. You know what you wake up and breathe for. You know what your passion is. Perhaps if we date in that direction, and find someone who kind of shares the same thing or maybe something similar, that where you can, kind of evolve off of each other, that would be even better. Such as like an artist painting and an artist photographer. Two completely different mediums, but the worlds collide to create something beautiful to where you're constantly learning from each other in some way, Suppose your photographer, husband takes photos that you can then use as art references. You see what I mean? You combine skills here. And as a result, he is inspired to get more ambitious and experimental with the photos he's taking. He's like, oh, she would love this. Maybe this would be a good angle. And just seeing his photo, turned into a painting creates something beautiful that they both share. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm living in fantasy land, but that's what I think one should strive for in their search for a partner. Two people that can benefit from each other's most sacred stuff. Yeah!